when we were missing. That was scary.
All right, guys, we're gonna get officially rolling now. The mic's good. Everyone here okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, guys, first of all, thank you all for coming out tonight. This is I'll give a little bit of the backstory to how this developed. I heard a mentor of mine. He had this idea. He did this for his son, something similar, and he was telling the story of this. So I got about maybe 30 seconds of the story, and then just about a couple of months ago, I was going through this exercise where the question was, if you had a year to live, what would you want to do? Right? Sort of an interesting exercise. If you have 1 year to live and you've got to do anything you want to do in a year, what would it be? And so as I'm going through and thinking about this, what came to mind is I would want to do something like this for my son for his 18th birthday and have guys that I respect that have life lessons and wisdom and insight and things to share come and get into a group setting and take a few minutes and talk. And so that was about 3 or 4 months ago. And of course, Jacob's 18th birthday was coming up, and I thought, that's perfect. So as life goes, we all get busy. And sure enough, I find myself I tell Beverly about it. Hey, this is something that's just on my heart. And she's like, of course, we've got to act on that. That's fantastic. And just get, it's crazy time with work and a lot of things going on. So about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I just know we need to move on this. So it came out a little bit later than I would have liked, but sure enough, it's really, we've got a great turnout tonight. So I want to thank each of you guys for coming out on a Father's Day weekend, first of all, to be a part of this. It's something special, and it's going to take on a life of its own. We're going to hear some cool things from some amazing men, different books that have impacted their life, and the lessons that are tied to that, and it's going to look a little bit different for each. So I'll set the stage for the evening. We're going to roll through the decades, okay? I'm going to have my dad open it. I want my dad to open it, and so he'll talk for a few minutes. So this is my dad, by the way. Dad, say hi, everyone. So he's going to open it for us, and then we're going to roll through the decades. So we're going to start with the young guys, and we're going to roll through to the older guys. So it'll be fun to see how this unfolds. Now, one of the things that we're going to do when each guy is done talking, instead of clapping, we're going to do what's called a 2-clap. Okay? Anyone know about the 2-clap? Three of you guys? Right. Okay. So here's how this works. And Sully, Noah here, is going to be the guy that will call out the 2 claps. So when the speaker is done, or the guys that's given the message is done, Noah is going to say,
2 clap.
Boom. Okay. So this is how it goes. 2 clap. Everyone claps twice. And then it's followed with boom, when you hold up your fist. Okay, so we're going to practice this one time. All right, so
2 clap.
Boom. There it is, see? All right, it's got a nice ring to it. We're going to practice one more time just to make sure all you guys got it. A few of you are off. All right, here we go.
2 clap.
Boom. I like it. All right, we got it figured out. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I just have one thing that I want to say first, and I'm going to call up my dad, and we're going to get rolling. And each guy, by the way, some of you guys are going to have, most of you have thought about what you're going to say. I want to encourage you not just to speak from the mind, but to also speak from the heart. So you're going to feel things also. If something comes to say it, just say it. This is the environment and the setting. If you feel something that needs to be said, just let it out. And I think everyone will appreciate that. So there's a lot of smart guys here around this pool. You're all going to have fantastic things to say, but I want to encourage you also to speak from the heart. So my dad's going to open, and then Trevor will give it over to you. All right, and I'll just kind of help moderate and give it some guidance. I think it'll flow just fine. What I want to say is this. I was working out this morning, and I'm going through one of the books that I think some of you might have brought from this author, Andy Andrews. The Lost Choice is the book I was going through, and there's a saying in there which I really like, and it was this: if God had wanted you otherwise, he would have created you otherwise. And it was a sobering thought. And so what I wanted to say to my son Jacob is that I think you're amazing. God's made you the way you are. You've got amazing talents, amazing insights. I'm super excited to see what your future looks like. I know that you can do whatever it is that you put your mind to. And I also, something I wanted to say for the group is that, I believe that each of us have a streak of genius in us, and part of our journey is to first find and then uncover and refine that genius, and then bring that genius to the world. And part of our growing up years as we're moving into manhood and into, through school and college and workforce, is to really listen, understand, and refine our genius. So, and I know that as that happens, that leads to fulfillment, is when we can be really clear on what our genius is and bring that to the world. So I wanted to just set the stage with that. So let's give my dad a welcome. He's going to start us off. And
2 clap.
Boom! Let me come up there, or hello, everybody. Jacob. Let's see where to start. Jacob knows that I like to read a lot, and I've been keeping track of what I read for the last 20 years. So I was able to go back and take a look on my Excel spreadsheet and see how many books I've read since he was born. And it's 1,292. Okay, so I read a lot. And so I thought, well, what better way to figure out what book to give, but let's look at them. So I started scrolling through, and I looked at all 1,292 books that I've read over the last 18 years plus a week. And this one jumped out. It's called The Righteous Mind: Why Good People Are Divided by Politics and Religion. I mean, I know we're going to see all kinds of different books, and this is sort of different too. But for me, this book just jumped out because, again, we're all good people, right? Most people are good people. And we're also, as a society, very divided, hugely divided. And I can relate to this personally. Carol, my wife, and I come from different ends of the political spectrum. Okay, very different. And when you have somebody that you love, that you like, that you respect, and they come up with a completely different answer to a societal question, you say, wait a second. There must be something to that, right? I mean, it is so often we talk with people who are like us, and we don't communicate hugely often with people that have a different perspective. Our whole country is divided like this, and you end up you end up demonizing the other side. We've seen this in the politics. You see it in religion, where you take someone who has a different perspective, and they become not a person, but something that you put down. And this book, to me, just crystallized why do good people come to different perspectives on important issues. And, I could switch into professor mode and then nobody else would have a turn to talk. Well, I'd love to do that, because this opened my eyes in terms of understanding. I get it now. I get it. I understand why two intelligent people, very smart, can come to a completely opposite conclusion about almost any issue. So anyway, so I'll recommend this for everybody and for you to add to your library. And I just so thankful to be your granddad.
2 clap.
boom!
All right. My name's Trevor. I guess we should introduce ourselves since we don't all know everybody. So a couple things. First of all, I would say, I think I probably speak for everybody as we're sharing stuff that, I'm not, I guess, that much older than you. I'm on the young side still, I guess. But so the experience is going to get more as we get older. But I think I speak for everybody when I say that we all hope that the next generation or the younger kids or anything like that are better, right? Like that we can provide some sort of wisdom or something that can be used to avoid our own mistakes, right? And as my friend Barry likes to say, nobody's totally useless. You can be a bad example. You can serve it as an example of what not to do. But so my book is called Man's Search for Meaning. So a little light poolside reading for the summer by Viktor Frankl. And it's a very moving book. He was a Holocaust survivor, and he was also a psychiatrist, and so did a lot of writing. And so he observed and he writes about his story kind of with a detached objectivism, which is very interesting. And I think that the history of the Holocaust is important to remember, and kind of why that all happened, and recognizing the potential for depravity or evil within humanity. But then he goes on to talk about the power of having a purpose, and how he saw people that had a purpose in their lives, or believed they had a purpose to live and a reason to live, in just the darkest shadows of hell, in Auschwitz or whatever it was, and how the people that had that power in their purpose and their meaning were able to go a lot farther than those who didn't. He quotes Nietzsche and says that he who has a why to live can bear with almost any how, and I think that's really powerful. So I think you'll enjoy it. That's it. Thanks.
2 clap.
Boom! Who's next?
How you doing? Before I get started, we got a list together. Are we going to get all these books too? Because I know I could get some of this wisdom. I'll take some.
We'll get a list.
Just sitting around poolside and seeing this, what an amazing blessing for your family and legacy. And I think just an amazing thing for you to be able to go along with that legacy. So as I talk about legacy, growing up in a family that has a lot of different, we're very eclectic. My brothers are in professional baseball, which is really tough. I went a different route, started my way at the bottom of a company, now work my way up, and I work with my dad every day, which is pretty amazing. But it's hard. It's hard to find your place. And I think after I got married, my wife is a teacher, now junior high school counselor. She gave me this book called Strengths Finder. And I was like, I do not want to read another book to figure out about me. Like, can't we figure out what you and figure out what's going on? Like, I don't want to figure it out about me. I've since had my entire staff do this. I've had my younger staff do this, and guys find out about things that they didn't have any idea about each other and about themselves, and then about the people they're working with. So for me, it was such a blessing because I found out that I could operate in my strength, and that was good enough. And I didn't have to be powerful in everybody else's strength. I could be powerful in my strength. My wife looked at me and goes, that's why you're out of control. That's why you're crazy. That's why you're always looking at it this way. And it allowed her to be able to relate to me on a totally different level. So I would encourage you to do this, like set some time at different benchmarks throughout your life. Maybe like right as you enter college, as you're entering the workforce, and then a couple years later, because I found that after 10 years of doing it, I did it again in this search, in this study, and it was a little bit different, which is pretty cool because that means you're growing, hopefully. And then I can't do anything easy, so I had to do 2 books. And the other book is called Twice Pardoned. It's by Harold Morris. My youth pastor gave this to me when I was in junior high. And it's just an amazing book about a man who was incarcerated for something he had nothing to do with, but it was about where he was and who he was hanging out with. And so just quickly, I'll just say that your sphere of influence is so much more important than you think. So who you surround yourself with, who your friends are, gather up those friends, know who they are, know who those friends are and who you hang out with. Don't take any of that lightly. It's very important for them and for you in your sphere of influence. So just with that, happy birthday. This is amazing. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
2 clap. Boom!
All right. My name is Matt, and I am super excited to be here tonight. This is so cool. I'm usually, always like really picky with what I do with my time. I have 2 young kids and a wife, and we try to spend as much time together as possible. And when Mike texted me about this, I was like, Nicole, that's my wife's name. It's like, I have to go to this. This is too cool. You know, selfishly, it's probably something I'm going to do for my son in like 16 years when he turns 18. But anyways, I think I've read a lot of books, maybe not 1,092, but counting kids' books to my son, you know, quite a few. And I honestly probably can't remember most of what was in those books, but The really cool thing about books is that I think they create this shaping of the lens through which we see the world. And the more books you read, especially good books, the sharper your lens is going to be through which you see the world. So anyways, the book I picked is called Deep Nutrition, and it is an amazing book. I picked it because I figured other people would have spiritual books and personal development books, but the food we eat and how we move plays an integral role in how our body works, how our mind works, and it also has big implications to like what we believe about ourselves and how we believe that we're created. And this book really changed my worldview. It helped me to think of the environment that I'm in, the food I eat, the movement I do, and really like how I set up my life as like a language that communicates with my very DNA. And there's all this research to show that we can change the expression of our genetic code through how we live. And I think God's hardwired us to be that way. He created us to eat good food, to move well, to surround ourselves with good people, and all of that like has this built-in ability to change who we are, how we feel, and what our lives are like. And I wish I would have read a book like this when I was 18. I'm only 29, but 11 years of awesomeness would have been great. So I really encourage you to read this book. It is awesome, and it's a game changer. So happy birthday.
2 clap.
Boom. All right, you know the drill. We're doing this in kind of age plus or minus order. Who's feeling young?
No, we don't.
All right, I'm gonna start calling on people. All right, you were actually. I was looking at you. This young guy's coming up.
Happy birthday, Jacob. And Mike, thank you for inviting me to this. I appreciate it. I am going to do it for my son in a couple years too. So kind of piggybacking on what, my name is Jason Lord. Piggybacking on what a lot of you have already said, surrounding yourself with the right people. My dad always told me, you know, you're an average of the 5 closest people that you hang around. So if you want your average to go up, you got to hang around 5 different people or somehow get your average up. And that's something that's super important. So who you hang around. Someone told me when I graduated college that where I'm going to be in 5 years depends on the people I hang around and the books that I read. So those are 2 things that I really took to heart. A couple years back, my wife and I do real estate. I was kind of waking up, same routine, same everything, and someone told me that I need to read this book called Living with the Seal. And I thought it's about a guy that, you know, invited a seal to live in his pool or something, and you know, has a ball on his nose. This is a picture that's in my mind, but it's really about a serial entrepreneur, Jesse Itzler. It's called Living with a Seal. And so what this guy did is he built up a company, Marquis Jet. He sold it to Warren Buffett, and then he had a bunch of money, right? And so he Googled the 10 hardest things to do in the world, and one of them was running a 100-mile race. And you know, obviously with all the money, he was able to have the whole thing catered, have the masseuse table out. I mean, you have 24 hours to do this race. Another guy shows up to do the race with a lawn chair, a couple quarts of water, some, you know, crackers, and some duct tape. And I didn't know what the duct tape was until I started reading through this, but this one guy ended up running the whole race by himself, and Jesse had 2 or 3 others that actually he ran the race with. They both got through the 100 miles, but this one guy ended up breaking both his ankles, had him duct tape, you know, and just kept going. And he's like, I want a piece of whatever that was. You know, how did that guy keep going? Because he was bleeding, his kidneys were shot, he had a couple broken ankles, but he finished the race. Something up here kept him going. And so he invited this guy, he found out who it was, invited him to lunch, and found out that just over a lunch he's not going to get a piece of that. So he invited him to come live with him for 30 days, and that's the SEAL. It's a Navy SEAL. And the first night they go out, and you could read about it, right? I just want to tell you real quick, because it's all about what's up here. Your mind wants your body to be comfortable. And so when you get that tap on the shoulder, if you're running a race or whatever you're doing, saying, you're done, sit down. This book, Jesse, the Navy SEAL, kind of taught me that you got 40% left in the tank, and you could keep going. You know, it's just your mind telling your body. And so as long as you keep going, as long as you never quit, you'd never really fail. And the first night that the Navy SEAL was there, he's like, get up there and do 100 pull-ups. He's all, got up there, did 7, he's like, I'm done. He's all, we're not leaving here until you do 100 pull-ups. And an hour and a half later, he ended up doing 100 pull-ups. And so it's just the mind telling your body, you can't do it, but you can do more than your mind's giving you credit for. So anyways, this is a great book. I know I'm not doing it justice, but I appreciate it. Happy birthday.
2 clap.
Boom.
Happy birthday, Jacob. Thanks for having me and the team here. Nice to meet Mr. Hardy, finally. I was probably one of the first guys that hiked up to Mount Whitney with your son and learned really quick of his deep thinking. And now I know where it comes from. He's definitely a deep thinker. So I'm happy to be here. This is an awesome format. Jacob, I honestly had a hard time deciding on what book to bring. I decided with this one, I'll get to in a second, but if I were just to provide a couple things that I look back in my career and my life that I think would be helpful. One, and you'll probably hear it from others, is over the next, I don't know, probably 10, 12, 15 years of your life in the future, which is coming at you full steam. Don't be afraid to pivot. And what I mean by that is, if you get into a situation, if you get a job or open up a business or get into a partnership or things that you're doing that excite you initially, if things don't turn out quickly, don't be afraid to quit or dump it and move on to another thing quickly. Don't feel that you have to stick with it for whatever reason. So that's one. One is just to don't be afraid. Take risk. The second thing is don't be afraid. Also, take risks when you're young. I'm still taking risks, and I'm 46 years old. And I feel like I'm slowing down slightly, but don't be afraid to take risks. There's probably folks that'll say, well, you need to take calculated risks, but just the fact of the matter is, don't be afraid. Put yourself out there. We could all sit here and overanalyze every situation, but if you don't get out there and do it, you're just not gonna know what's out there. So that would be my best advice tonight, is to, if you're bored or if something doesn't work out your way, just quit immediately. I mean, you may be at home sitting, your parents may not agree with me 100%, but if you get into a job, whatever college you end up at, if you think that you like the situation, but for whatever reason it doesn't turn out the way, just quit immediately and then pivot and go into something that you think you like, because we're all on this journey, and you may hit 3, 4, 5, 10 different things until you find your genius, or you find your sort of path that you need to be on. So, by the way, there's multiple paths sometimes. So those are my 2 tidbits for tonight. The book that I brought was written by a Rabbi Daniel Lapin, and it's called Business Secrets from the Bible. So I'm going to give this to you tonight. Happy birthday.
2 clap.
Boom. Happy birthday, Mike. Thanks for inviting me. What the last guy just said, it reminds me of something I heard on Jim Rome, just to lighten things up a little bit. There's nothing worse than a quitter, except a quitter who keeps trying when he knows he should quit. Let that sink in. It's actually a horrible saying. Don't bother. So anyway, going through this whole thing, it was really hard to figure out what books to pick for this. So I told Mike earlier, do I have to pick just one? Because I couldn't actually narrow it down to just one book. I picked 2. One is called The 4 Agreements, and it was a really good book. I wish I'd read this when I was your age. And there's two of the 4 agreements. One is don't take anything personally, and the other is don't make assumptions. If you just adhere to those 2 agreements, your life is going to be way easier. Anything that I could ever remember regretting when I was your age was because I didn't adhere to those 2 things.
The other book is, I think, one other people will pick too, which is called Think and Grow Rich. And the one thing I would tell you to take from that is basically you're going to become what you think about. So this book will kind of give you some tools to figure out how to train your mind to think about what you want so that you can get what you want successfully. Okay? So best of luck to you, and thanks again for running.
2 clip.
Boom.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike. I have to follow Graham. That means I'm older than him. I don't know if I like that admission. I used to be more on the front end of these things. But anyway, my name's Dave. I've had the pleasure of knowing Jacob and the rest of the Hardy family for the entirety of elementary school years. My kids went to the same school for a while, and it's been great watching all of them grow up together. I wear a lot of hats, and one of the things I do is I'm a professor at Mount SAC. I teach a 5-unit finance and accounting class and a 3-unit intermediate accounting class every year. And I started my college career at Mount SAC, and my very first day there, I had this philosophy professor, and he walked in the classroom, and he looked like Confucius incarnate. He was about 4.5 feet tall. He had to be 100 years old. And he'd walk slowly into the classroom, and on the first day, he's always 5 minutes late. And he said, there's 2 days during the semester the teacher can afford to be late and the students can't. That's the first day and the last day. And he said, but you're here, so take out a piece of paper. And I'm going, geez, this is a test already? We haven't even said hi.